Big pocket knives are great, but let's be honest. Sometimes a small pocket knife is simply better. Here's why. Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here, coming at you from the KnifeCenter, and here is why you might like to choose a small pocket knife over a larger one. For one thing, they're easier to control than a larger blade. Take this mini Bugout from Benchmade, for example. It's nimble, it's agile, and it is incredibly easy to precisely execute your cuts. Which is not to say a larger knife like this Mannix 2XL from Spyderco can't do those things, but it requires more deftness, more thoughtfulness in how you cut to do the same sort of smaller things. A smaller knife is also easier to carry than something like this big, broad folder here in the Mannix 2XL, especially when you get into some real slim things like this Alox Bantam, which we'll get to more on in a bit. Easier to have it with you, which means you'll actually have a sharpened edge with you when you need to cut something. You're not going to go, ugh, I don't want to put this in my pocket today and go without. A smaller knife is also easier to sharpen because there's simply less edge you have to worry about when you go to do that sharpening. You will have to sharpen a little more often because there's less edge to go around what you're cutting, but hey, what are you going to do? And last but not least, this is going to be something that admittedly some people will think of as a drawback, and that is a smaller knife is simply less threatening. The appearance of something like this Knafs Lander 5 is unlikely to raise eyebrows when you actually need to use it. And some people just need a knife that's more socially acceptable than, I don't know why I'm picking on the Mannix 2XL, but here we go. But this is gonna fly under the radar more. It's just not gonna, it's not gonna be remarked upon the same way this is. Now, yes, sometimes only a larger knife will do, but for a lot of people, for a lot of the time, a small knife is really the right tool for the job. Anything bigger would be superfluous, unnecessary overkill. So where should you start? Well, I gathered a few things for you to take a look at here, just sort of as examples of the types of small knives you could take a look at. You could certainly look at a keychain knife, like the Spyderco Ladybug right here. This is a KnifeCenter exclusive with a laminated core blade steel of HAP 40. So it's got really cool technology in it. It's not just a simple gimmicky keychain knife. It's also got a lock, an actual usable and strong lock to back up the blade as well. This is admittedly way on the smaller end of the spectrum. We'll get some slightly larger things here shortly, but I at least wanted to start at the base, But despite the small size and only a 2.5 finger grip, Spyderco have done a really good job of making this feel secure in the hand due to the ergonomics and the way you grip it and where you place the thumb on that ramp there for confident cutting. But let's backtrack even a little bit further from this. We should talk about classic slip joint knives, especially the Peanut from Case. I don't know if there is a more iconic small slip joint knife these days than the Peanut. They can be beautiful and gorgeous. There's a certain element of the historical kind of acceptance of this style of knife that really leans into that unremarkable quality. Not that this is an unremarkable looking knife, but it is something that's not going to get remarked upon negatively when you actually need to use it in polite company. This version right here is about $66 with a blue crackle kieranite finish or inlays on the sides, but several flavors are of course available. Case Knives does a lot of cool stuff. You've got true sharp stainless steel blades on these, 2 of them in fact, and it's just oh so nice. The other advantage of going small is you can often get multi-tools that are small enough, like the Victorinox Swiss Army Rambler right here. It's about $35 normally. And yeah, I'm going to count this as a knife in this case. It's got a small sub 2-inch blade right here, simple stainless steel, but it is precise, it is agile. It's not any kind of heavy duty, of course, but you do have other kind of basic day-to-day things like a small screwdriver and cap lifter, in addition to a excellent pair of mini scissors and a screwdriver with a file on the side, toothpick and tweezers, of course, as well. Really cool little unit, and I actually prefer this over the even less expensive Classic SD because the blade opens away from the key ring on this knife, which means you can hold your keys down here and actually cut with it. On the Classic, the key ring is on this side. I don't like that quite as much. For even less money than that, you can go a little bit larger and yet slimmer in the Bantam A-Locks. This is a KnifeCenter exclusive color of this knife, running about $27. You don't get as much functionality, but you do get a larger blade that you can see right there, and the combination tool right here that does a lot. It is a can opener as well as a cap lifter. Does both of those tasks, believe it or not. It's a small flathead / pry bar. You got a wire stripper notch, and the corner right here can even work as a number 2 Phillips in a pinch. And when it comes time to slip it back into your pocket, that is a whisper of a knife right there that you will never notice until you need it. Ultimate in concealability right there. Not necessarily fast access or deployment, but it is very concealable. All right, getting a little bit, I say bigger, but this is a smaller actual blade length here. But the Lander 5 from Knafs does feel larger in the hand than the Bantam. And this knife is also a great example of one more reason why smaller knives are sometimes better, which I didn't address in the beginning, is that smaller knives are generally less expensive than a comparably equipped larger knife. I mean, you just look at it, you know, the mini Bugout versus the Bugout, for example. The mini Bugout is going to be less expensive. Granted, a Benchmade is going to carry a price premium, but you take my point. The Lander 5 was essentially designed to fit as low a price point as possible. And part of that was the size overall. This is a $30 knife. The blade is 2.2 inches long. You lose a bit of that sharpened length. You don't get full 2.2 inches because they've done the trick here where you use the finger choil area around the pivot there to give you an extra finger's worth of grip. And that's part of why this feels a little bit larger. It doesn't quite feel like a little big knife. We're going to get to some of those shortly, but it is moving in that direction a little bit. It allows you to feel confident and use the blade effectively. Steel is 8CR series stainless. The handle is stainless steel with a frame lock. A basic, simple recipe that is ultra reliable and just plain works at a very, very good price. Next up, and also from Knafs, and this was actually sort of the inspiration for today's video. This is the O.C.T. It was released last week at the point when we're posting this video, and it just got me kind of in the headspace of small knives and wanted to talk about it a little bit more. This blade shape in particular, I think, is excellent on a smaller knife. It is 1.89 inches long, but there is enough handle there to have at least 3 full solid fingers on it. So you've got enough grip to utilize the small blade. And because it's this modified sheep's foot with the downward, with the point so far below the center line, you're really able to put a lot of strength, power, and pressure onto that point, thanks to the short blade and that, primo real estate for your hands on that handle right there, your fingers on the handle right there. Very powerful despite its small size, provided you don't need to make, long slicing cuts. But anything like puncturing, piercing, and heavier push cuts, you'd be surprised what you could do with a small knife like this. This version right here is a KnifeCenter exclusive with S35 VN steel, and the aluminum handles here comes in at just under $100. Similar size and shape to that actually is the Runt 5 from ProTech, an automatic knife, not a manual. It is a quote-unquote switchblade, and they have 2 blade shapes, the reverse Tonto style here and a modified sheep's foot, modified Wharncliffe, kind of similar to the O.C.T. actually, but it's the same story here. You've got the ability to really push down into those cuts. And this is an expensive knife. It's about $450. It is kind of blinged out, made fancier than the standard versions of this. But again, if this knife were twice the size or even 50% of bigger, it would be more expensive. Maybe I'm stretching a little bit for the value proposition here, but it's worth mentioning, I guess. But the Runt is such an awesome knife. We've got magnet cut steel on this particular one, stainless steel handles, mother of pearl firing button. It's a true gentleman's knife. And there's something to be said about gentleman's knives being smaller in general. I've always kind of held to that. A gentleman doesn't need to shout about what they're capable of. They just need to calmly and efficiently get the job done sometimes, while looking nice, stressed up, of course. Another small knife here, the Holier Nerd from TRM. Coming in, this is actually one of the more expensive versions, coming in about $395 here, although the series starts at a more attainable $265, about $220 for G10 handles. But this is a titanium handle, and the finish here is called Northern Lights Cerakote. It's blue, but it also kind of color shifts in the light, which is pretty darn cool. Blade is 2.2 inches long. You've got Magna Cut steel, just like the ProTech here, for a great, well-balanced set of characteristics for a high-performance steel. The blade has a bit of that kind of reverse tanto or clipped tip energy right here. And there's enough downward angle to the handle that, even though it's not as, abrupt of a thing as this O.C.T right here, you can still really bear down on that tip effectively, especially on surface cuts like so. Nice thin geometry. We've got an inset liner lock to keep things secure, and just a fantastically built feel overall. Next up, we have the mini Bugout from Benchmade. And this one is starting to feel a little bit larger than the previous knives. It's still relatively small, 2.82 inches on the blade, so it's well sub 3 inches. And this is one of the fancier versions with aluminum handles, comes in about $350, but the series starts at about $175 for the less expensive handle options. This is one that kind of starts to flex into little big knife territory, just a little bit, because especially with the secure feeling of these aluminum handle scales, because I can get just barely all 4 of my fingers wrapped around that blade and push it when I really need to. Still got a nice, thin, efficient, slicey blade, and it's still nimble and efficient when you need that nimbleness and that efficiency, that agility in the handling. Next up, the MKM Isonzo. Little bit shorter than the mini Bugout, but we're starting to feel a little bit more bulk here. Showing where small knives can start to flex a little bit bigger without, becoming a big, boat anchor in the pocket. So I almost got away from me right there. $117 and change for this one. It's a Jesper Vaknes design, 2.25 inch blade. I know I mentioned ease of sharpening at the beginning. This particular blade shape might not be the easiest to sharpen in general, thanks to the recurve right here. But this particular blade shape, there's also a modified cleaver and a clip point blade, but this one in particular aids the smaller platform, or helps the smaller platform here to cut bigger. You've got an aggressive tip, you've got extra edge in your given sharpened length because it is so curvaceous. And the way it's curved, as you're pull cutting especially, it's really going to force material into the tip, and that sharpened edge right there lets it cut bigger, lets it cut more aggressively. So in the beginning, when we were talking about the Lander 5, I talked about that little big knife concept. I think there's no company that's done it better consistently over time than Spyderco. Originally with knives like the Dragonfly right here, and that is thanks to their same use of that finger choil. Spyderco uses a guarded finger choil so that your fingers are still pretty well protected. But being able to get a full 4-finger grip on a smaller blade, in this case, less than 2.5 inches, has big advantages. I think in the Spyderco lineup right now, though, their best little big knife is not the Dragonfly. As good as and classic as that is, the Lil Native 5, just the Lil Native is really the knife that is small, has a very compact profile in the closed position, and yet can really feel like a big knife when gripped, even more than the mini Bugout, even though the length on the blade here is shorter. The G10 here just is thick enough, and the shape is such that it instantly feels like you are imbued with confidence with this knife in your hand. Now, prices on these start at about $106 for the lightweight versions here with thinner BD1 blade steel. That is certainly an option. My favorite, though, are the G10 versions with the compression lock. This is the Spy 27 version, giving you a more premium cutting steel at about $173 at this point in time. The blade is robust enough to work quite well. The lock is one of the most well-respected on the market. Just plain works, and it works big when you need it to. But it's still a small knife. One more to mention before we get even bigger, the Baby Banter, another Ben Peterson design, like that first Knafs we looked at. This is the Baby Banter 2 coming in at $68, and it's a similar story to the Native right here, but it pairs it back a little bit. We've got thinner blade steel here. We've got an unguarded choil at the front, but it has that same feeling of confidence when you pick it up. This is a little bit larger than the original liner locking versions of the Baby Banter, and that's one of the things that they had to do when they gave this the crossbar lock. I was a big fan of a crossbar lock anyway, but definitely check this out as another example of kind of that little big knife. But when we really cross over, the cold steel Tuff Lite. It's the same trick. You've got that finger choil there, guarded in this case, giving you a full 4-finger grip. $34 for this knife, and it feels big, but it's not. I mean, this is a 2.5-inch bladed knife, and yet it can do work with the big boys, so to speak. Steel is O.C.T. You've got this Wharncliffe profile, perfectly straight edge, hollow grind. You've got the triad lock here at the back, so the lock is insanely strong. The handles are injection molded. You've got a 2-position tip-down pocket clip. Robust, serious tool, despite its small size. Because of its small size? I don't know, the ergonomics of this, you've got that downward tip, or that low centerline tip with that Wharncliffe there. Tons of power and pressure is going to be able to put on that because it is the size that it is. And this knife is the perfect transition to start talking about, the stouter small knives that still, are overbuilt enough, like a larger knife. We're going to go with that word anyway. Let's talk about another affordable one here, the SOG Stout. It's available in a slip joint as well as a frame lock. We'll talk about the frame lock here. These are about $60 normally. I've actually got them on sale right now for about $40 at the point we're publishing this video. So that price may not last forever, however. D2 steel, sub 2.5-inch blade, thick on the spine, but you've got a high flat grind to keep it slicey enough. Unguarded finger choil there. Again, something that gives you a full 4-finger grip, and it is... They couldn't have named it better. I mean, stout, yes, this is 100% stout. You've got a flipper tab for opening as well, so it's nice and convenient. Deep carry pocket clip, which is reversible, so anyone can enjoy it. This next one, I hesitated whether to include it or not because it's not a good knife, but I wasn't quite sure where to put it in the lineup, but the MicroJimbo from Spyderco. They start at about $192. This one right here is actually a sprint run with S90V for real high edge retention and peel ply carbon fiber for more grip at about $270. It's not quite as overbuilt as some of these other ones we're gonna look at in this section, but it still feels robust, kind of in the same way that the Lil Native does, but it's a little bit larger. Instead of the finger choil there, you've just got more handle going on. Blade length is sub 2.5. Again, really aggressive power at that tip, thanks to its size. And good geometry to be just a general utility blade replacement overall, thanks to the steel and the shape and everything else about it. All right, next up, we have got to talk about the Nano Shark from Andrew Demko. These are small knives, but they don't feel like it. They don't feel like you're skimping on your knife at all. 2.25-inch blade. I've got 20 CV on both of these, but other versions are available. Titanium with the clip point here. Fat carbon with the modified the shark's foot blade, which is a modified sheep's foot. Both of these blades are available, less expensive though. This is about $390. For the fat carbon version. The titanium here is about $350, but you can get them, much less expensive if you want. I'm talking sub $100, just under $100 for the base version. But these things have strength. The handles are thick enough. The blade is thick enough. The shark lock is, of course, very strong as well. Doesn't take up a ton of room in your pocket. It is getting a little bit bulkier though, I will admit. But for what it asks of you, or what it asks of your pocket to carry it, it truly is something that feels like a full-size tool despite the size. The same could be said for the DPx Heat as well. This is the Leggero version. Comes in about $280. You can get the standard version, or the other version we have in stock right now, at least for a little bit less than that, not too much. 2¼ inch M390 blade, a thick sucker right here. You've got a very, very durable geometry there, and you've got the strength of that frame lock to back it up. It's kind of, in a way, a similar recipe to the Lander 5 at the beginning, just far more premium in its materials, and of course, larger and leans more into what it is that it is. Does that make sense? The frame lock is super solid. You've got two options of opening it actually. The thumb studs is the obvious one, but it's also got this cutout in the blade right here that acts as two things primarily. One, it will act as a bottle opener if you need it to, but the second is it can actually act as a pocket deployer. If you intentionally angle it the right way as you pull it out of your pocket, your hem of your pocket can catch that and actually deploy the blade as you draw it from the pocket, which is always a really cool trick. Feels great in the hand too. I mean, this thing just is perfectly designed to nestle into that point of your palm. And last but not least, let's end with another fancy chunky knife that is more affordable than the last two. This is the Begg Knives Steelcraft Series Microburst, a collaboration with Jared Van Otterloo and Rod Olson right here. Such a cool knife. $129 for this one. There's a few flavors available. You've got a 2¼ inch VG10 blade, that same great, power delivering blade shape on these small profile knives with a hollow grind for a very precise tip as well. And the handles here are machined aluminum, and they bring the chunk. So you can still have a super solid grip on the knife, even though it is on the smaller side. You've got a button lock for the action. You can flick it open or closed, or you've got the lighter wheel style flipper on the back for quick access that way. Such a cool knife. Anyway, that's all I've got to show you for right now. Let me know your thoughts vis-a-vis small knives versus big knives down in the comments. Maybe we'll do the counterpoint video to this soon, why big knives are bigger than small knives. But at least for today, we're going to say small knives are better than big pocket knives. Fight me in the comments if you wish. And if you want to get your hands on any of these knives, check out the links in the description, which will take you to KnifeCenter.com, where we've added a ton of new payment options at checkout. And don't forget about our long-running Knife Rewards program either. I'm David C. Anderson from the Knife Center signing off. See you next time.